What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm here today to review the Smashing Pumpkins Gish. So this is the first video in our Smashing Pumpkins series, a series that's going to come out every other Sunday at noon. So we're going to be doing that indefinitely. I have a lot of things I want to talk about Smashing Pumpkins-wise. I assume a lot of people watching this video may have seen the Darcy analysis video or the Smashing Pumpkins reunion tour video. I was really happy to make those, really excited to make those, and now here we are. I'm very passionate about this band. They're my favorite band of all time. Truly love them, and I want to talk about a lot of stuff regarding the band. I want to talk about the tour as we get closer to it. I want to talk about different elements of the band. But I want to start, and this is going to lead us several months and even into the tour, but I'm going to throw in different videos and different things we'll talk about into that. But I want to review every single album, which is quite the task. And like I said, I'll throw in, videos about the tour, videos about the band mates in general, maybe about the music itself, ranking things. So we're going to be doing all of that. Like I said, every other week. The other week is a different music kind of thing. Taylor Swift, if you didn't know, if you haven't seen the channel, I haven't looked around the channel. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing Gish. So what I normally do, Taylor Swift is the only other musician I've made videos about musically wise, but what I normally do is I break the albums into sections, my review of the albums into sections, where I talk about the whole album. Just kind of talk about my feelings, talk a little bit about the history and the concepts and what I think of the album as a whole, kind of go on tangents from there, and then I actually review and break down every song. I'm not going to go super in depth in every single song, but I will touch upon every single song by the video end. So that's normally how it goes. So, first half of the video will probably be talking about the album in general, and then we'll get into the actual songs. There's not a lot of songs, and I think that's a good thing from my perspective. Wait until we get to Melancholy. That's going to be, maybe it could even be a two-part video. Same thing with Machina 1 and Machina 2, but I'm very excited to do this, so let's jump right in. So Gish was released on May 28th, 1991. It was the first Pumpkins album, as I'm sure all of you know. And this album is really neat. This is a really cool album. I'll come out in the very beginning and just say this. This is not my favorite Pumpkins album. And to be honest, and this is definitely maybe a curveball, but I guess it's good to be honest right from the get-go. I think it's my least favorite of the original lineup Pumpkins from 1991 to 2000. Out of all those albums, I think Gish is my least favorite. Now, the reason that is the way it is not because Gish is a bad album. Gish is an amazing album. They're all amazing albums, I think. You can argue, Machina was very much torn apart and criticized, and even Adore back in the day, very much criticized. Gish, to me, just has so many things going on, and it just doesn't do as much to me. It doesn't connect to me as much as the future Pumpkins albums will as we go along with this. Is it better than all the recent stuff from Zeitgeist up until Monuments to an Elegy? Yes. It's definitely the best of those albums. But when you throw in the originals, I do think it's my least favorite. And again, least favorite is a good word. It's not the worst, it's my least favorite. The album has some very strong hits, but even Billy Corgan himself has said, there's no hits to this album. And now, I'm not even a guy who loves hits. I think hit songs are really good, obviously really important. They bring you to the music. But I don't think you need that many hit songs. Again, I don't want to always go back to Taylor Swift, but I will from time to time. Oftentimes, I find my favorite song from the albums are not the hit songs. They're just not. They're deeper cut songs. And in terms of the Smashing Pumpkins, my favorite songs are deep cuts. They're alternate versions. One of my favorite songs is Try, the alternate version on Machina 2. That's in my top 5 favorite songs. Who's even heard of that song, right? Maybe 100, 200,000 people of all time. That's just like the YouTube playback. So I don't need hit songs. However, there is no hit song here. There's no song on this album that really grabs you. There's a couple that get close. And again, we'll talk about all of that. But this album is, and again, in terms of the history, it is more of like a psychedelic, more spiritual. And Billy Corgan had said that this album was more of a spiritual album. An album that he didn't know really the words to use. And funny enough, when you look into the album or when you read the lyrics, because what I also find as he gets older and as these albums, as they progress, you start to understand him. You can actually hear his voice more and more. And in this album and in Siamese Dream, it's harder to actually hear his voice. It's not that he mumbles. It's not like he has a Billy Joe Armstrong thing from Green Day going on. He doesn't exactly mumble, but the whole purpose of the band, right, is that the music outplays the singer. And that was the big, huge problem with Zeitgeist, is that the music was just over, or his voice was way overpowering. It was like at the front of the stage, and the music was behind it, whereas it had always really been reversed. And throughout time, you know, even Melancholy, Adore, Machina, it got more even. And you can maybe even argue several songs of Machina, his voice carried it. But when it came to Gish, early days, the music definitely propelled the band. It was the drums, it was the guitar, and mainly those two. The bass is present a lot in Gish, and it kind of goes away for Siamese Dream, but it is present in Gish. And when you think of this, his voice is pretty pushed back, and you can't really understand him. But the funny thing I find is he was talking about how hard it was for him to kind of portray his thoughts into words, and he definitely got better at that as these albums go on. But when you look at the lyrics, they're actually extremely short. A song like Tristesta has very, very few words even in it. It's a very small amount of words. Even like Snail or something like that. One of the longest songs I think is probably I Am One in terms of the actual lyrics. So a lot of these songs don't have the most lyrics. They're driven by the music. And to their credit, that is really good. The music in this is beautiful. And again, I'm not saying I don't like this. I love every song. I love every song in this album. That's a strength of this album, is that it doesn't have any hits. No, it doesn't have a song that really I can just keep clicking on and going, other than maybe Daydream. Daydream I've always really, really loved. But it has no real song that is just hit, that you can just keep going back to, whereas the other albums do. But when you run into the problem with the other albums is there are sometimes songs that you just flat out maybe even don't like. There is one song on Melancholy, and even on Machina, and obviously when we get to Zeitgeist and Monuments to Analogy and even Oceania, there's some songs that are just down, like I don't like. I just don't like listening to them. On Gish, there's not a song that doesn't do that. There are some songs that blend together, and when I say blend together, obviously they're each unique, but just the middle songs, I feel like kinda, they slow down the pace, but they slow it down on purpose. Songs like Suffer, Snail, Crush, those kind of middle songs aren't the greatest songs in the world, and they all have their different paces and their different and they're all different musical patterns. But I think that the beginning is extremely powerful and extremely good. And I think the ending is very, very good. I think the middle songs just kind of run into the experimental part. The part where it's the band's first album, and you shouldn't expect them to light the world on fire. But this album did very, very good. This was a very good album. Billy Corgan basically did it all by himself. This is where we get into the history that he was known for basically doing everything. He did almost 100% of the guitar and bass parts. So everything you hear in this is almost entirely him and Jimmy, produced by Butch Vig. So this is their first relationship. So this was a big time for the band. First time, first album. It sold extremely well. Divided the band almost immediately, and really just started the saga that we know of all like the bad thing, just the breakups and the heartbreaks and the bad relationship that this band has can all be traced to Gish and even probably before Gish. But let's get into the actual songs. So again, I'm not going to talk about the songs like really, really in depth, but I do want to touch upon every song in order. So it's only 10 songs, and that's technically, if you don't count I'm Going Crazy, the bonus hidden track at the very end of Daydream. I'll talk about that, I guess. I mean, it's like a 16-second song, but I Am One is the first song, and I Am One I think will always be a special song. It's not technically, I don't feel of it as a hit, but I can keep listening back to it. Can constantly go back. It's got a great guitar solo. I mean, this is really the first time you hear Billy just shred the guitar, and he is an incredibly talented guitar player. And you definitely hear that all throughout this album. This album has a lot of really, really nice guitar parts, and you hear in I Am One, obviously, the very iconic drum line leading up to the song. I mean, that's the first time you ever hear Jimmy Chamberlin. That kind of just came fluidly between Billy and Jimmy, so that's a really good drum beat right there, and the whole song, I Am One, is a very good song. Very good song. Spiritual kind of in meaning, but everything works really, really well in it, and it starts the album really, really strong. Now, what I'll say about the next song, in Siva, that song, to me, kind of blends in with I Am One and doesn't, especially the guitar part, doesn't really do enough to differentiate itself with it. It also has a very, very long guitar solo to it. What I will say about that song is this begins really the identity of the Pumpkins that really carry on, I'd say basically throughout their entire career. Billy Corgan really likes to change the tempo. right? He really likes to experiment with slowing down, maybe even completely stopping, and also going really, really fast. And you get that with this song. This song stops. It slows down very, very quickly. And it's also very quiet. This album does that. It goes, his voice sometimes will do that, very, very quiet, and then really, and then screaming at you, basically, especially in songs like Crush and stuff. But his voice will do that, and the guitars will do that. Very like peaceful melodies that he's doing on the guitar, and then he'll just light it up with a really nice riff. So that happens a lot, and that's the song. This second song is really where that starts, and while I'm not the hugest fan of this second song, it doesn't really do much for me. It does kind of bring their identity, because I Am One is a pretty fast song, pretty rock song. But then they start experimenting, and there's nothing better than experimenting than the third song in Rhinoceros. Probably the biggest single you heard from this album, the music video, I think is a music video that a lot of people see quite often when they're in the room kind of just playing around, bouncing the balls and doing all sorts of things. Originally supposed to be a room smaller than my room, and they were basically all supposed to like be on each other's laps, like they were all supposed to be very tight. And then when they actually got to the studio to record it, it was a huge room, so their plans had to change and they had to stand and get away from each other as much as humanly possible, which is kind of ironic in terms of the band in general. But this is a really nice song. Rhinoceros is a really nice song. It's got a really nice guitar, it's got a really nice bass, it's got really nice drums, and it, again, very much starts, again, it continues the tradition of slow, quiet, first half of the song, very, very quiet, and then the pace picks up. And I think this song is a very, very special one. This is a song commonly referred by Billy as like the song that's like the closest to a hit, especially when we get into the Siamese Dream, that like Rhinoceros was close, but it's not exactly. Darcy Retzky really never liked playing this song. I find that kind of funny. She didn't like the slow nature of it, and I think the slow nature definitely builds to the song. I think it definitely helps the song. Because it's definitely got like a scale. A lot of it's very slow, and then towards the end it gets very, very fast. So I really, this is a really good song. The beginning of this album is very, very strong, the first 4 songs. And the 4th song, of course, is Bury Me. Bury Me, I really do like. I like it live, and they have played it live a couple times. Not really recently. I think they maybe even played it in the Machina days, rarely. I know they sometimes did it during Melancholy, but a lot during Siamese Dream and a lot during Gish live times, like when they went on tours and stuff. They played Bury Me a lot because it really worked with the dynamic with James and Billy. And this song definitely has the sound. Again, another iconic feature of the Pumpkins is the having 2 guitar players make it sound like you have 6 guitars, right? Make it sound like you have just an insane amount of guitar players in your band. And that's something they took pride in. That's something they still do take pride in. And I have a feeling we're going to see that with a new tour, especially because it's 3 guitar players, all with their each, individual talents. James, maybe not the best at playing quick songs. The solos were never really his thing in the entire Pumpkin touring. Normally Billy handled that, and now really Billy and Jeff does that. So it's going to be interesting, but that's a thing we can talk about later. But this really worked for James and Billy back in the day. Bury Me is a really good song. The guitar parts in it, especially towards the end, when it gets into the solo and it gets into just the guitar playing, really nice. My favorite guitar kind of section from the entire album. I really love it. Next we had Crush, Suffer, and Snail, and again, I don't really want to go into these. They all each start uniquely. One starts with the bass, one starts with the guitar, one starts with the drums, which I kind of like. I feel like maybe he did that on purpose, and they go one right after the other. Each good, each does have their own tempo and their own feel. Each doesn't have the longest lyrics. This is really when I started looking at the lyrics, because I didn't really know much about what these songs meant. When like I said, because you can't really hear him, so you do have to read the lyrics. But even when you read the lyrics, there's not many lyrics between like chorus and verses and stuff, so it's kind of interesting that that's the case. But it is solid. These 3 songs are very solid. I don't really feel the need to go into it. Snail, I will say Snail is a song that he has played live more and more, especially in these last couple tours, when it's just been him, when he was doing OG Lala, and when he did the Monuments tour, and when he was just going, when he was just doing live stuff by himself, even with Jeff, he does play Snail quite a lot, and I really do like that song. I really do like that song when he plays it live, and there's more songs even in this album that he plays live that we'll talk about in a second. And that song is Tristessa, and that is a song, and he has played that live as well. I really like that song, and that name, that's a really weird name. This song is really good. It again experiments with fast and slow. It experiments a lot with the guitar. I really like the guitar riffs that he does in this song. This song starts to bring it back. I do think those middle 3 songs do get experimental, do get like trippy and psychedelic and spiritual and stuff. And then this song starts to like put the pace higher up, right? This song has more of a consistent, fast pace to it than those middle songs. I think that actually overall helps the song and helps this part of the album. Windowpane is next, and Windowpane, I really do like that song. This song has a really big build-up to the point where the drums even do the build-up, where it kind of rolls the drums, especially towards the end. This song's good. This song starts very slow, very quiet, just Windowpane, and then he'll do the rest of it, and then he'll go back to it. Really like that, and everything kind of builds up together. His voice builds up, the guitar builds, especially the guitar and especially the drums, obviously. They really build up till the end when it's just an all-out, guitar solo. Really nice guitar solo. And you just hear that pounding of the drums in the background. I mean, that's a thing that I didn't really talk about earlier. I mean, Jimmy Chamberlin did a fantastic job on this album. Really good. Again, I Am One really propelled. Probably, I mean, the first thing you ever hear in the Smashing Pumpkins is, in fact, the drums. And sometimes you don't do that from bands. Sometimes you hear the voice first, sometimes you hear the guitar first. Depends on the kind of band. But it is kind of cool that the first thing we ever hear is the drum. And it's a really nice drum beat that starts off their very first song ever in I Am One. And I have a feeling, I feel like they'll play that song live, because they're going to need something for Jimmy Chamberlin to do to kind of shine. Which is kind of weird that they're not doing United States, because that is a time for him to shine. But we'll see what they end up doing with him with the drums, maybe giving him his own solo. But he does a really good job, especially in Windowpane. And then we get to the last song, Daydream, my favorite song on this album, I think by far. Bury Me is probably my second favorite. If you had to rank them, it'd probably be Daydream, Bury Me, and then either Rhinoceros or I Am One. You can kind of flip-flop them at 3 and 4. Daydream is really good. Obviously, Darcy singing it originally was supposed to be Billy, and it didn't work. He was out of key between, he didn't know that his voice was going to kind of conflict so much with the guitar work and with the actual music part. So the keys were off so bad that they asked Darcy, like, hey, do you want to sing it? Do you want to try it? And she did it, and she's a good singer. I'll give her that. I love Darcy. I love all of them. Darcy is a really good singer. Progressive, she doesn't really get a chance ever to truly shine, especially as we go forward. Siamese Dream, she basically does nothing in the singing department. Melancholy, she does get a chance, and Adore, she definitely does sing behind Billy, and especially live, you can definitely hear her in a lot of the Adore songs. So she does kind of get a chance, but this is really her shining moment. This is the only song she sings completely by herself. It is short. It's only like a minute and 10 seconds, minute and 11 seconds, I think, but a really nice song. Her voice is definitely beautiful. I like the guitar a lot. It's just 3 or 4 chords. I like the violin part too. I mean, this song is really beautiful. It's a really great way of ending it. I'm really happy that it was Darcy that got to sing it. This is a song. I can just keep clicking it. Her voice is really good. It resonates with me. I do like it. And I love Billy's voice too. I think a thing with the Smashing Pumpkins, the first thing you have to get over if you want, or you need to accept when you're a Smashing Pumpkins fan, is you need to accept or get over his voice, right? I think his voice is the biggest deterrent to the band, is that his voice is so nasally and just that kind of sound. I love it. I connect with it really well. His voice connects to me, and I like his voice more than any other musician's voice out there. But you do have to get over that. If you're not like that, if you don't like his voice, you're most likely not going to like any of the Pumpkin stuff. But Daydream, she's got a great voice. She's got a great voice, and that song is really beautiful. Obviously, once she left, and she has played Daydream live back in the original Pumpkin lineup. Once he started playing it himself, and when he went on, I believe it was the Monuments Tour, he came to Niagara Falls. He went to North Tonawanda, which is close to where I live. I went to see him. I had the VIP access when he played the 3 songs, which he played By June, he played By June, Disarm, and he ended with Daydream. And Daydream he sang, and I have heard him sing Daydream before. I really do like his version of Daydream. I think it is really good. His voice fits. his voice fits the key now, and he's made it work with just what he's done with the song. I like either version. Darcy's is obviously the most iconic, the one we're all going to remember, the one that is on the album, but Billy does a good job doing it live too, but Darcy on the album does a fantastic job. And then I'm Going Crazy, you know, cool. I like his voice. I like how there's a little bit of like a electronic to it, like it's not actually just his voice. I like the guitar, you know, it kind of like sizzles. The sound stays for a little longer, like he kind of holds the note. I do like that. But at the end of the day, it's like 15, 16, 17 seconds. So what are you gonna do? Overall, this is a great album. This is a really, really good album. I think one of the better albums you can ever hope for a band starting out. They were a little bit older than most of the 90s bands that started out. You know, even if you look back at bands like, even bands that I love, or even, you know, if you want to look at Taylor Swift, she started when she was 16. Her first album was when she was 16. Green Day, they started when they were like 17, 18. You know, Blink-182, Mark Hoppus was older than Tom DeLonge, but they were pretty young too. They were like 18 and 21, or like 19, 22, so they were very, very young too. So all these bands starting very, very young, even Nirvana and stuff like that. And then you have the Smashing Pumpkins. I believe Billy Corgan was 23 when this album came out. Darcy's a year younger than that, and James is a year younger, and Jimmy's older. So they were kind of older. You know, they had started the band in '88, so they had been playing for 3 years previously, and they had done, you know, club tours and stuff like that. But really, this was their first album. But they were old for their first album by that kind of standard. They were a little bit older. So it does make sense that the whole concept and the whole sound is very much more polished and much better. It is a really good first album for a band. And I think that does show that they're older, and that's kind of reciprocal, you know, that it makes sense. But it also just is a testament to Billy's perfectionism, maybe something that has gotten in his way, but something that even Butch Vig had said, like, you know, he came in the studio and he wanted things done right and really well. He wanted to spend hours on the guitar. He wanted to really make the music sound good. He took time, so it does make sense. He really put a lot of effort into this, and obviously when we get 2 weeks now, when we get into Siamese Dream, we all know the huge amount of work that was put into that, mainly by him, kind of on purpose, and we'll talk about that. So that's my review of Gish. I don't do ratings. We just don't do that on the channel in general. I never rated the Taylor Swift albums when I reviewed them. I kind of just give you a summary, kind of just give you what I think of the whole album, what I think about the songs, and I guess you can judge from there if I liked it. Not that it really matters. We're not trying to sell it or anything, but I do really love this album. It's my least favorite of that group. That doesn't mean I don't love it. It's really, really good, and that's what I think. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? What did you think of Gish, the first album by the Smashing Pumpkins? And also, if you want to talk about Siamese Dream, that is next. 2 weeks from today, we're going to be reviewing Siamese Dream on that Sunday at noon. Cannot wait. We're going to go, same thing. We're going to talk about the whole album, the history of it, the concepts and everything like that, and we're going to go into each and every song of Pride, the album that a lot of people view as the best Smashing Pumpkins work, and actually really one of the best albums ever made. It consistently makes those kind of lists, but we'll talk about it in the next video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really couldn't do this without you. Really happy that there's a Smashing Pumpkins community out there, and really excited to kind of represent you. I don't really see anybody else doing this on YouTube, so I'm very happy to do it for you, and kind of talk about what you guys want me to talk about a band that we all really, really love, and we're all very, very happy that they're back, and they're getting some media attention with this reunion. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.